Three Crow here, and somebody needs to hear this. So, was Mark Zuckerberg at the UFC event by himself hanging out with Dana White? Now, the reality is, both Dana White and Mark Zuckerberg are they're businessmen. They don't just hang out with people. So no doubt they're actually running a business deal. But what is it? What does Facebook now, that's now Meta, what does Meta in its suite, because Meta is a lot of different companies, doing with the UFC? Where's the connection, right? Here's my theory. I think three things connect them, and that's artificial intelligence, brain mapping, and robotics. All right, so why is that important? Very simply, when it comes to creating artificial intelligence, another aspect is not just how the AI works, but if you can take an AI, put it in a physical robotic body, and then have that robot that's an AI walk around and do things for you, right? What has to happen when it comes to artificial intelligence right now is massive data dump. So essentially, the more the AI knows, the quicker it can learn, the more it can make decisions and do various things. We're not going to talk about it becoming sentient or not. That's another type of conversation. Right now, we're just talking about baseline code that allows the AI to take in input and then have outputs, but the AI itself isn't deciding what the input is. They're not deciding, it could be this input some days, it could be that input some other days, like humans do. As a person, you can say, this is beautiful one day, and the next day it's not beautiful. You really like something the way it tastes, the next day you don't like it. When it comes to writing code, the code is the code, okay? So how do we get this code to be more like a human being if we want it to be inside of a robot walking around, right? So this is how. Brain mapping. So the first part, artificial intelligence, that's code that allows something to take in inputs, bring out outputs, and make it seem more like it's human. Next is brain mapping, how the human mind actually works. So if you want an artificial intelligence to be like a human, well, the brain has to be like a human. So understanding how the brain works is not just about input and output. It's about experience, it's about movement, it's about your environment, it's about so many different things that actually develop a human being. So AI plus brain mapping gets you closer to an AI code that's operating like a human being, like a person, like a sentient individual being. What's the third part? Robotics. And this is the direct connection. So we know Meta is working on brain mapping. We know they're working on robotics. We know they're working on these things. And for the most part, by the way, when these companies are working on projects, by the time they announce them, they've already been working on it for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, sometimes 15 years, sometimes 25 years. Blue Origin is Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is the owner of Amazon. He also owns Blue Origin, which is a space company. He had that company. They started that company about 25 or over 20 years ago, and I think it was 2004, 2005. Started to, and then I think launched it in like 2015 or something like that. So it was like 10 plus years before, announced it. It was like 10 plus years before people even know that he was working on this concept. And then 5 years after announcing, there's actually ships that are being built. And then years after the ships are being built, there's actually a space flight. So when it comes to what Mark Zuckerberg is doing right now, what he's doing right now, we're not going to know about for sure. We can only speculate. We're not going to know about until 5 or 10 years in the future, maybe 2 or 3 years into the future. So why is he there in the UFC right now, and what could he be working on that is going to come out years in the future? Because the UFC and Meta have not done any deal. They did no co-marketing. There were no interviews, and there was essentially Dana White didn't even want anyone to even think or talk about Mark Zuckerberg being there. When Mackenzie Dern came out and said that Zuckerberg rented out the whole space, Dana White came out and said, nope, that's not true, that didn't happen. But of course, he didn't clarify anything. He just said that Mark Zuckerberg didn't rent out the space. It wasn't a private show. So if it wasn't a private show, he's obviously doing business there. What is that business? Robotics, okay? The MMA fighter. The MMA fighter is one of the only athletes. I think jiu-jitsu specifically is really what helps this, but the MMA fighter moves the physical body in so many different ways. You know what I mean? Legs, you see what I'm saying? When it comes to brain mapping, right? If you can get if you can be mapping a UFC fighter's brain while that fighter is moving the physical body, doing jiu-jitsu, doing wrestling, faking, punching, kicking, kneeing, elbowing, all these different things. If you're mapping the brain while that's happening, you can now take that data, use it to create this AI algorithm that performs more like a human being, right? So that now this algorithm can go into a physical body, and it can also be reverse engineered. Maybe if you know how the brain moves the body from brain to hand to mouth to throat, then you can take that information and actually from there understand how to create a robot that can move with an algorithm and have that AI that's in there also seem more like an individual personality. So what I think, here's a whole theory in whole. I think that Mark Zuckerberg and Meta are working on making robots. They're working on making robots that are eventually going to be sentient, but that's going to be way in the future. They're working on robots who's maybe not way in the future, because there are sentient AIs that exist, but that's all secret stuff that no one's going to talk about until the world is prepared to know that that information is out there. But let's say Meta right now is working on an AI that is going to be brain mapped to a human being, and they're going to be in that algorithm that was brain mapped to a human being is going to be in a physical body. That's what I think Mark Zuckerberg is working on, and I think he went to the UFC because he wants to map the brains of UFC fighters. He wants to map the brains of the UFC fighters because he wants to create an AI that can be inside of a physical body and that can do all of the movements that a UFC fighter can do. Because if they make that, for sure you can have a robot that walks over, goes down, picks up an orange, and gives it to you. And then, well, let me see, more robotic, it's like this, just like an arm. It's like, here you go, and somebody goes, thank you, and takes it, right? And the arm just goes away. Or, not the arm goes away, but the robot goes away, right? That's what I think is happening. And so Dana White is just going to help them. They've already done the first metaverse UFC fight, so that could be a possibility, but it's already done. Dana White already did it. So it's a possibility they could be doing that. It's a possibility that Mark Zuckerberg is just there, just hanging out because he loves the UFC, but that's just even more unlikely. So of those three possibilities, he can be just hanging out, he can be working on a UFC fight inside the metaverse, which I have my thoughts on what would be really cool with that, or you can have Meta working on an AI that's going to be brain mapped and put inside of a robot, so that Meta is now dishing out, is not just doing the metaverse, but doing things in the real world, dishing out, making robots, dishing out help robots, assistant robots, cleaning robots, companion robots that can hang out with people. And I think the UFC will help, and Dana White will help by allowing Meta to map the brains of UFC fighters, to map their movements and map how the signals go from the brain to the various areas of the body, what parts of the brains are using, so that they can create an algorithm that allows a robot to move a body. And of course, as that continues, decade, we're just moving towards more realistic robots, more realistic algorithms. But right now at the beginning, when we have nothing existing, how does it start? And I think this is it. Let me know what you think. Why was Mark Zuckerberg hanging out with Dana White? Are the UFC and Meta doing some business, or is Zuck just there to hang out with Dana White because he loves the UFC? You let me know. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know when new videos come out. I'm on my way to 1,000 followers, and I'll be releasing a video a day for at least until December 31st. So every day you can come and there will be a new video with new opinions, new thoughts. They all won't be 11 minutes long. Some of them are going to be 1 minute videos. For the most part, they're probably going to be 20 to 25 minutes because my videos, so you know, the format is a 2 Sun City update, which is the metaverse that I'm building, the non-MMA news, and then MMA news. And for this right here, this little note, this isn't really a show. This is just a video I'm putting out to offer my opinion on one thing, but show up every day so that you can get a 2 Sun City update and you can know what that is. You can learn about some non-MMA news, hear my thoughts about things happening around the world, and then get some MMA news before you go off and have a great day. I also have to decide whether I'm going to make these videos, like release them in the morning or release them in the evening. I'm not really sure yet. I'll figure it out as I go. This is my 4th video, I think. So as I continue to grow, 5 videos, 6 videos, 7 videos, I'll get better over time. Thanks so much for watching. Peace. Wait, thanks so much for watching. Yeah, that's better. I'm gonna do that one instead. Yeah. Thanks so much for watching.